Good morning and welcome to another Office Hours with David Meltzer. As you look around, you'll see that neither one of us is David Meltzer. And David is traveling in Egypt right now and has had a little bit of internet difficulty. I believe he may or may not be able to drop into the show tonight or this morning or this afternoon, wherever you may find yourself. But Rhett and I are here. Rhett, how you doing?
I'm great, Blaine. It's good to be on with you. It's been a few days. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, it has. It has. Yeah. Again, I've been traveling just a little bit. I'm down in Mexico right now myself. It looks like you're back home. That familiar office background.
Well, I would rather be in sunny Mexico with you for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, although I was just telling Gigi, but just before we got started here, they think it's a little cool here. It's about 68, 70 degrees, but everybody's bundled up. I'm going, what are you guys, crazy?
Well, I don't know about you, but I was telling Gigi this last night, I think. I used to live basically in Siberia, and I'm in my 20s and 30s, and I go outside in shorts and T-shirts and be fine. But when I hit like 45 or 50, I'm like a weakling now. Like when it's 65 degrees, I'm cold. So I don't know what's happened, but I know I look like this mountain man, but I can't take the cold anymore.
Well, you grew that out of self-defense.
There you go. That's it.
Grizzly Adams, yeah. Keeps us warm. Well, why don't we bring David on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Not our David, but a different David.
Let's do it.
Hey, I'm going to be David in spirit today. So I think if we all bring the right frequency today, that we could honor Mr. Meltzer not being here. How you fellas doing today?
Doing great, David. How are you doing? Good to have you on the show again.
Good. It's great to be here always.
Man, love talking to you. You're a lot of fun to talk to.
No, thank you. Likewise. Yeah, likewise.
What's going on?
So, yeah, just real quick. I mean, you're basically going to want to educate us a little bit here on Team Hired Recruiting, which is a dedicated recruiting company. Yeah. So why don't you fill in some of the bars on this, so we've got a little bit of
what inspired us to build this is after exiting my first insurance company, I was trying to figure out, hey, what do we get into next is one of our next ventures. And when I analyzed the problems that insurance agents were facing, but also business owners, because we're not just limited to insurance, we can recruit for any business that's out there. Everybody had a people problem. And everybody was struggling with the hiring process. Everybody was struggling with candidates ghosting them. Everybody was struggling with quality. And, you hear the old, Gen Z, nobody wants to work. There's nobody out there. While some of that might be true, what we discovered that more times than not, it was actually the hiring foundation within the business that was more broken than the actual hiring environment. So we saw an opportunity to come in, do things way different than anybody else. Because when you think about recruiting, what do you think of? It's expensive, it's boring. And what we wanted to do is bring some life to recruiting, so we can come in and do it at a third of the time, at a third of the cost. And we try to make it more engaging. As a matter of fact, we built our company off the premises of giving every client a fanatical customer experience. We didn't ever find a recruiting company out there that was known for their customer service. When you think about best-in-class customer service organizations like Mercedes-Benz, American Express, so we casted a vision to our team. We want to be that for the recruiting space. So not only are we going to deliver at a fraction of the cost, fraction of the time, we want to do it where our number one priority is obsessing over the customer experience. And we were able to do that over the past, well over 5 years we've been in business now. We have over 4,000 online reviews from our clients, video testimonials from our clients. And now it makes it exceptionally easy for our sales team, because all they have to say is, hey, I'll bet you a steak dinner you can't find another recruiting company out there that's got 4,000 online reviews. And it really sets us apart from the rest. But one of the things that we come in, we take an initial consulting approach. So we're not some third-party vendor that's working with our clients. We actually try to connect to their brand to be a part of their ecosystem. And we want to understand, what is your hiring process currently? And with the knowledge that we have in the hiring space, to dissect what one or multiple things are broken And we focus from a consulting standpoint, first and foremost, to get that process dialed in so they have the right foundation, the right magnet. When they find that unicorn candidate, they find that rock star candidate, they have a rock star offer that's in alignment with that candidate.
So with such an aggressive value prop, right? Like half the time, was it a third of the time or the half the time for finding a candidate? How do you maintain if you blow up, if the company scales? How do you maintain that quality? How do you maintain that promise?
Yeah. So what we did is we actually instituted it in our compensation plan. So even outside of our sales team, all of our operational team, 50% of their compensation is based off the KPIs, the key performance indicators around customer success. So every one of our employees, before they close out a customer, they're not allowed to close out a customer unless they get 3 success points. What's a success point? A Google review, a Better Business Bureau review, a video testimonial from them or their staff, a social media shout out, a Facebook group that has more of our customers in it that they can actually just go in and be transparent and tell the truth, what their experience was. If they do any one of those things, they have to get 3 of them during the life cycle of the customer. But what that is to me, that's the barometer, even as we scale, which we have over the years, that allows us to, hey, we know the customers that were left behind if they didn't get those success points, and that comes across my desk, and we got to dig into, well, how can we flip this experience around to make sure that they walk away wanting to give us that raving review?
Yeah, I love that.
Go ahead.
No. I was just saying I love that process. I love that.
Yeah, the Net Promoter Score comes to mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
That whole process there. When I did a lot of work with Starbucks years ago, I worked with them for about 5 years with some of their executive teams. And I remember a conversation I had with a barista, or not a barista, with one of the store managers looking to hire a barista. And she was pulling her hair out, metaphorically. And I said, how hard can this be? And she said, it's not as hard as it's harder than you would think, because most people, when they think about a position, they think about, can they do the job?
Yep.
Do they have the skills or the aptitude to be able to learn how to do the job? She said, I can teach anybody how to pull a shot of coffee, but what I'm looking for is the right fit for the team. Exactly. And she pulled out a stack of applications. I think she had something like 75 applications here. She's gone through every one of them. She's interviewed every one of these people, and she's still looking for the right fit for the team. When you're talking about the hiring process being broken, I mean, that I think is a good counter example. Somebody looking for the right fit for the team. How do you ensure that you're getting the right fit for the team?
Yeah. So what we recommend to all of our clients, because you get some people out there, I'll give you like the insurance industry, for example, it's a licensed role. So the path of least resistance that everybody's looking for, could I get a perfect candidate that's, experienced, they already have a license, and they're a rock star? Or I can tell you that while that person might exist, they're just not available in the open job market. That unicorn is taken and there's somebody somewhere else. So predominantly what they're seeing out there is the opposite of that candidate. But too many people will look at that candidate that's the wrong candidate and look at it as a Band-Aid, and it causes them more pain in the long run, even though it might seem like from the surface it's easing their pain in the short run. So what we teach them, let's find somebody, maybe they don't even have to be licensed. They don't have to be from your industry. Let's find a rock star somewhere else that doesn't have any bad habits, and we'll hire to your culture. We'll hire to your core values. We'll hire to your integrity. We'll hire to how you function as a team, because those are the things that I look like. You can't teach integrity. You can't typically teach grit and work ethic. And if you can actually get all that genetic makeup and a great employee outside of, that maybe your particular industry or space, well, that person can learn the product very easily. And then typically what we see is they replicate that success. And then we also came up, if you guys want me to shore it, we have a 3-step formula that we recommend to all of our clients that we follow when we're there. It's what we came up with, our 3 C's, because in the beginning, we were dealing with a lot of the same challenges most businesses were dealing with: the ghosting, the people not showing up, not accepting the job. So we decided to go out there and interview dozens and dozens and dozens of candidates. And we told them, be transparent with us. Don't give us fluff. Why did you really not take the job? And it came down to our 3 C's was the answer. One, compensation is the first C. It might not have been competitive enough where the person didn't understand their own backyard and local market and what their competitors are paying, or maybe they understood it, but so many people got so many things they expect out of the perfect employee that they got this like 4-page compensation plan that you need a decoder ring to try to dissect. And then heaven forbid that person has to go home and articulate the opportunity to their spouse and how I get paid. They can't speak to it. So what we recommend is KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Have a 1-page paper that's got the comp plan on it, easy to understand. If you were 5, I could understand it. And then give me, if it's a performance-based position, give me a good, better, best solution. So now I can say, hey, are you a minimum performer? Well, great. A minimum performer, that's not why I'm hiring you, but you can expect to make this a month per year. If you're an average performer, you can expect to make this per month per year. And if you're a rock star like I know you are and you're telling me you are, this is the compensation that you can expect per month per year. So now it's very clear cut. The second C that it came down to was culture. They're spending more times in your company than they are with their own family. So they notice the things that you don't notice. If you come in and you allow it to be a messy environment, it's not well lit, and the energy is, mundane or negative, well, they're going to pay attention to that. But if the energy is dynamic, everybody's got a positive mental attitude, and they're all operating on the frequency that Dave Meltzer talks about, and it doesn't feel like work, well, guess what? That's going to be a pretty darn attractive magnet to come into your business, and that's the magnet that literally in this day and age, if you want to have a superstar on your team, you have to have a superstar culture that equates to that. You got to think about this as a marriage. It's no longer a two-way street. And then the last but not least is career path, giving them that career path. What we see 2 times, more times than not in the insurance space, for example, they'll try to hide the opportunity that they can actually become their own boss and own their own agency. And we had to educate a lot of people, but like, listen, if somebody worked for you for 3 to 5 years and they do a great job and then they go off on their own, is that really a bad thing? But that could be the very thing that attracts them into your business. But what it does is it sets them apart. And every industry has this unique differentiator, I think, that you can explain. So there's a lot of things out there, like I can go work at Google, I can work at Amazon, but can you work in a company where you could actually own your own insurance agency? And if you came in there and just acquired an insurance agency, you paid off that loan over 10 years, you didn't even grow the business a dime, you just sustained it, you're a millionaire. And none of them were articulating that. And every industry has that value proposition. We help bring that out and articulate it to the candidate to present it as one of the best opportunities in America.
That's how you are getting top talent in your business, it sounds like. And
we basically dissected everything that attracted the right people into our business, because over time, we focused enough on all the right things that we didn't have to worry about recruiting anymore, because we built this magnet where people just started to knock on our door because they loved what we were doing and they wanted to be a part of it.
I mean,
it's an interesting juxtaposition of getting an employee of choice or becoming an employer of choice.
Exactly.
And that employer of choice, man, you get that in place, and then people are coming to you. You're not having to go find them out. One of the things that I ended up looking at with that Starbucks metaphor was we hire people for what we think they can do, and then we fire them for who they are.
Yep. And
that whole idea comes into play here. David, where can people find out more about what you're doing there? I mean, this is I love the third the time, third the cost. And I've been around long enough. Rhett and I both have been around long enough to know that, employee turnover. I mean, losing an employee is an expensive, seriously expensive proposition. And if you can retain good ones, you got a rocket ship potentially that you can.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the best way they can find me, teamhired.com. And what we do is we help get your team hired, and we do it again, third of the time, third of the cost. And I haven't found another recruiting provider yet that's got almost 4,000 online reviews. If you do, call me up. I'll give you a steak dinner, and we'll talk about how we can serve you. You can also look at my website, a little bit more about what I'm doing outside of the recruiting space too. It's www.bookdavidwilliams.com.
All right. We'll have all that in the show notes.
All right. No, I appreciate you, fellas, and appreciate you having me on here. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I just want to come down and have a steak dinner. I just want to have a steak dinner with you. I just want to come down and do that.
Yeah, no, let's do it. Yeah. That's always welcome between friends.
Well, you got two people here that you're going to end up buying for. So,
all right, sounds good.
Okay, David, take care. Have a Merry Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas to you both, and have a blessed rest of your week. I appreciate you.
You too, man.
Good. I mean, those 3 C's. Yeah, right. I mean, he articulated that in a way I haven't heard another recruiting firm ever articulate that. And I've worked with some of the top ones, and this is really good. So,
and I love the idea, this whole idea of the atmosphere that you're bringing people into, right? That dynamic, that atmosphere of energy and good vibration and just light and positive. I think he's onto something there about, what we're doing in our businesses to create that kind of place to work. Yeah. I
mean, the original title, when David and I put this show together, the original title of this segment was Office Hours, the Soul of Business Edition. And that culture piece is, when the soul of the business is alive, it percolates. I mean, and it's about aliveness. You walk in and people are alive. They don't feel like they have to be there. They actually going, I get to be here. This is a cool place for me to express who I am.
Right. And that's when they don't leave. They don't leave then for, if they're managed well and their expectations are met and, they have high expectations on them. I mean, you don't have that turnover. You don't have that loss that when
exactly.
people do leave, right? And they want to be there. I love that. I mean, they're engaged. And when we know that when we have an engaged team, you can do anything.
Yeah. And that's the holy grail of leadership is, employee engagement. If you get emotionally engaged employees, you can weather a whole lot of black swan events. You truly can.
It's interesting too. I was talking to my 20-year-old yesterday. He just got back from college, and we were talking about making yourself. I spent a lot of time with him in terms of making himself attractive when he's working for someone, being that most valuable employee. But I love this take on it too. Like employers have to put some energy into wanting to get that from people, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we've got Val waiting in the green room right now. So why don't we bring him in? Val Narodetsky.
That's right.
Hey, Val.
How are you guys?
Doing great. CEO at Hire Odesa. So this in Ukraine. So this is interesting. We got a little theme running here today in the show here.
Very relevant conversation, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hire Odesa is a platform that connects U.S. businesses with top-tier talent from the Ukraine. Now that is a real specific niche. I mean, I don't know how you could get in the recruiting field. I don't know how you could get a whole lot more niche-y than that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the reason why we wanted to niche down, right? So it's a combination of multiple things. Number one, I'm from Ukraine. I came to the United States in 1998 when I was only 12 years old. My entrepreneurial journey started back in 2007 or so, and throughout my ventures that I've started, and I was fortunate enough to have a couple of exits, I always found myself looking into my home country as a way to hire top-tier tech talent. Once I was able to achieve a certain level of success, I looked at an opportunity of being able to combine my cultural background as well as my expertise and knowledge within the American business environment, put two and two together, and help US-based businesses, e-commerce brands, and startups to essentially get access to that top-tier 1% offshore tech talent that exists in that region of the world that has excellent reputations for great output, for affordability, and at the same time maintaining the level of quality. So far, we've been very successful at managing over 200 different pre-vetted experts that are located in Ukraine as well as Eastern European regions, and being able to connect them with some of the most fascinating businesses that are based in the US that I've had a pleasure of working with, including startups, e-commerce companies doing well into 9 figures per year in revenue, and similar others that are looking for essentially to scale their operations effectively and cost efficiently using offshore tech talent.
So we know there's a tech shortage in the U.S., right? A talent shortage in the U.S. for tech talent. But there are also challenges, I think, in integrating remote talent into a business. How do you sort of ensure that talent you connect to the companies is not only technically proficient, but also culturally aligned and can really start off on the right foot?
Of course, that's an excellent question. So one of the systems that we've implemented on the internal side of when we are having conversations with potential candidates and pre-vetting our recruits is we want to make sure that they've had previous experience of working with US-based companies. A lot of conversations we've had, they've never had exposure to, a 9-figure VC-backed tech startup, right? They're more focused on small European companies, which in our case wouldn't just be interested to us. So what part of our vetting process is that we want to make sure that, number one, they have the experience, not only experience in the technical field, but also experience working with the American-based businesses and the proper understanding of what the American business culture is about, as well as being able to be available on the US time zones and things like that. And in addition to just having understanding of what kind of environment they're walking into if they were to get hired by a US-based business.
I was just kind of scanning some of the show notes here that we get before we start the sessions, and I was struck by something a little factoid that stands out here. When you were 12 years old, after only 9 days of moving to the U.S. from Odessa, you started your first business delivering newspapers on your bicycle before heading to school each morning. Rhett, I don't know about you, but that was my first job too, delivering newspapers. The Roseburg News Review was in Roseburg, Oregon.
Mine was
News Review.
Sentinel, I believe, because we moved from Odessa, Ukraine, to Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I grew up. And within the first 2 weeks of being in the country, I got myself a bike, and it was we moved in January of 1998, so it was super cold. Within 2 weeks, right before school started, and I was getting picked up by a school bus, I used to wake up at 5 a.m., get on my bike, ride through the snow delivering newspapers. And that's kind of like where the entrepreneurial fire started, because the moment that I got my first check for the job work, I think it was like $200. And on top of that, the folks that I was delivering newspapers to, they gave me a $50 tip. Holding that money in my hand, that kind of like lit the fire, and that fire has been burning ever since.
And now you're just making 7-figure exits. I mean, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. But
we scaled a little bit, right? Everybody got that start. I guess that's where my start was,
Oh, that's fun. Now you also you kind of broadened out just a little bit here. I'm interested here in the American Esthetician Organization. That's the aesthetic professionals. What's the deal with that? How do you square the circle?
Between going back to entrepreneurial roots, right? I come from a family of estheticians. My mother, my aunt, my sister are all estheticians, career estheticians, right from the moment that we arrived in the U.S. So that's an industry that I was always exposed to. And after having my first, I started looking into ways to contribute to that industry simply to my heart. And one of the areas that I was experimenting with is community building, right? So naturally, the idea was how fast and how quickly can I build a community of like-minded estheticians and beauty professionals and turn it into a professional organization. So within the first 8 months of launching the organization, we reached the 6,500 members all around US. Estheticians, beauty professionals, cosmetologists, nail technicians, and things like that. And it's been growing ever since. And we're one of the fastest growing beauty professional organizations in the United States as of today. So that's one of the kind of personal projects that I'm very proud of. It's a very close-knit community. We're hoping to start launching events next year. So it's been very gratifying to kind of enter the industry that I've been exposed to from the very beginning when I was 12 years old, and actually organize it in a community-driven sense.
That's awesome. Rhett, say something there?
No.
Okay, good. Now, where can people find out more about what you're up to?
Absolutely. So, HireOdesa.com. Feel free to visit us. You can also email me at val@hireodesa.com if there is ever any need for offshore tech talent. And for those who are in the beauty professional industry, you can visit us at esthetician.org.
That's beautiful. Folks, check that out. I think you're going to find, particularly if you have any kind of a tech organization or you need some tech support, in a very specific, professional manner. This is, you've got some talent access here that not many people would have access to if they didn't know where to go. So Val, thank you very much. And good to have you on the show. Have a great holiday season.
You as well. Merry Christmas.
Have a great holiday. Christmas. Wow.
Yeah. Now you talk about niching something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, what can I do where I am with what I have? And you just notice entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurs. Yeah.
I was just thinking that, right? That's when you asked me what I was thinking. I wasn't speaking, but I was thinking that it's like 9 years old, gets that fire, and it just, you can see the passion in both he and David, right? I mean, you can see that energy and that passion and that this drive is remarkable. And
speaking about the drive, our next guest here has got a fascinating story, and it's not too dissimilar from our buddy David, who's riding camels in Egypt right now. And we'll talk about that in a little bit here. J. Alexander Martin.
Hey.
Dr. J. Alexander Martin, PhD.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, my friend.
How's it going? How's everything going?
Hey, it's going well. Going well.
Excellent. Good to have you on.
Great. Yeah, I was listening to in the backstage listening to your interview with the guys over there, and he was talking about vision. I was like, man, that's the key thing. If you don't have any vision, it's never gonna happen.
You're right.
That's absolutely right on. Spot on. Now, you got a book out here that is, and I mentioned our partner in arms here, David Meltzer. Yeah, he, made and lost $100 million pretty quickly in his life, and it was kind of as it would be for I think a whole lot of people, kind of a wake up call. And you've got a fairly similar story to this, I think. So. Money made me crazy. How I squandered millions of dollars building an empire. So, what's the story behind this?
Well, it's one of those things where when you finally achieve something, if you get what you want, you don't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? So that's the case of that. Basically, the book is more so about your money temperament. Once you achieve greatness, and of course that all comes with a monetary value, you have different choices to make, and a lot of times you make the wrong choice. Like they talk about the lottery winners, how what 99% of the lottery winners lose all their money in the first year, because again, money comes responsibility. And with this book, you have to understand, who you are and your relationship to money. I had to find out that I was a spender the hard way.
You said something there that I think is really a little nugget that hasn't been talked about enough. Especially when we're looking at vision and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. What you said was, when you get what you want, you don't know what to do with it. And oftentimes these goals, these visions are placeholders for experiences that we want to have in life. Right. But we get so fixated on the achievement of the goal, the symbol, that we lose connection to what was the experience that we were really trying to produce for ourselves.
Right.
What happened with you? I'm not so much interested in what happened with you around that, but Can you identify the spot or the time where you lost connection to the experience that the money was supposed to represent access to?
Well, I think the main part of that is the point you're making about experience. You need experiences first before you achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve. Because if you don't go through those experiences, you won't have the knowledge and be able to deal with that particular process or that particular situation. And that's the problem. A lot of times, and especially today's with social media and the fast pace of everything and things like that, you don't want to go through the process. And the process comes super quick. So you have no knowledge of what you're doing and you're just floating. So you go back to what you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Gravity sucks. It pulls me back.
Well, you know, I don't know if you know this, but I did a couple products with your other co-founder.
Damon. Damon. Yeah, Damon Jones. Yes.
And so off of Shark Tank, my first company was a toy business, and we made some products with Damon. But I don't really talk about that. But I want to talk about the journey into what you're doing now, which is really helping with the network, helping people build businesses, right, and have social impact. What are some of the biggest challenges around what you're doing now and helping young entrepreneurs not make the same mistakes, but also helping them build business in the right way and build sustainable long-term businesses and that have social impact? Talk about that, because you guys, I mean, FUBU had a social impact, right? Yeah. I mean, I remember it. I mean, I was that age, right? And I remember the style and how it connected and how it just, the lightning struck, right? Right time, right place, right people, you know. Right. Talk about that now and how you apply that to what you're teaching and helping people do today.
Well, I think the main focus is teaching people, first of all, patience, and slowing their minds down. Their mindset has to be in the right place. You know, you have to want something for the right reasons. You don't want it to show off. You want it to help or impact others. You know, when you start a business, you have to have a goal in mind in that aspect. I think that with entrepreneurship, it's not for everyone. It's not for the faint of heart either, you know, because again, that's one of the hardest jobs, if not the hardest jobs you can have. You're the last one to get paid, if you get paid. You're the first one to come in, last one to go home. You know, there's a lot of things you have to have a mindset for. And now with the impact of social media or the impact of the internet per se, e-commerce, you know, you can do these things faster, you know, supposedly, or, you know, so you don't go through the steps. You know, I always say you can't cheat work. It knows who's working. And a lot of times today you can get it super fast. So you're cheating these steps. You're cheating those steps that will help you through the times when it's not so smooth. Yeah. And it's not actually working. You know, and you have to throw in on your vision and the reason why we're doing this. What I try to do is more so teaching that first. Because if you can't go through those situations that's going to be hard, you might as well just go work for somebody. And I try to tell them as harsh and as sometimes borderline mean as I can, because this is not easy. And if you can't take that, you're not going to be able to take anything.
That's right.
That is true. Yeah. That is so true.
Yeah.
No.
If you can't take bluntness, you're not going to.
Yeah. Right. There's a lot of quote unquote sharks out there.
Quote unquote. Yeah. 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 Here we go.
Nothing else needs to be said.
We'll just leave it at that. Where can we find out more about what you're up to here? For us, by us. And actually, before you actually answer that question, talk a little bit, if you would, about the network, For Us By Us network. I mean, the clothing line is one thing, but FUBU is one thing, but For Us By Us, the network, that's a thing that's really kind of interesting from a community standpoint and from a social good standpoint. So just 8 bars on that, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, real quick. So basically, the network was built because we were losing our foothold in being able to market and market our clothing and brand our brand. So I came up with the idea to be able to, and again, we've always in our business, we've always been vertical. We've always been, we started from a hat, Damon John, and then I took the hat and turned into, multiple items, to the tune of $6 billion in sales of to date. So with a lot of artists, we would put our clothes on, and there would be commercials and videos and things like that we'd have. But we were losing that because a lot of those people were taking business in their own hands and not actually, using our clothing to wear or promoting our clothing. So I figured that's he who controls the media controls the world.
That's true.
And so then I came up with the idea to start Forest Bias Network, to which I can actually create my own content. I can give small content providers a means to get their content out, and it's been working. It's starting, now, just like when we first started, we got a lot of people into the fashion business. Now we're getting a lot of people into the film and television business.
There you go. Yeah, great. I love these stories.
Yeah,
Alexander, I mean, this is good stuff. Bless you, man.
No, thanks to you. Thanks to you. Listen, this is one of them. This is a situation in which we're sitting here and we're diverse. We're having diverse conversations and we're teaching people. That's what we got to do.
Yeah. Spot on. You can go tojalexandermartin.com and you're going to get more information for sure. FUBU has been around a while. It is a raving success. It truly is. I mean,
yes.
And it started with a hat.
Started with a hat, and that's all you have to do is start. One last thing I always say, a person will come up to me and say, "Hey, what do I do? What do I need to do to be an entrepreneur?" And I'll tell them, "What? Get out of my face." And they're like, "What do you mean get out of my face?" I said, "Because an entrepreneur would never ask that question."
That's right.
Yeah.
They'd already figured it out.
And
they don't complain about not having. They don't complain about not having funding. They don't complain about having to get on the street and go door to door. Right? They just do it.
Right.
By the way, I've got to have you on my show with the book. I do a book TV show, so I do have to have you on to talk about that because I think we dive into that.
Anytime.
That's great.
All right.
I'd like to talk. And I'm going to piggyback on Rhett's invitation there too on the Solo Business podcast I do.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to get some exposure here, buddy.
Okay, let's do it.
Not that you necessarily need it, but
no, always need it. You always need it.
We'll give Damon a run for his money.
Okay.
That's right.
Happy holidays, everyone, and to your viewers.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Have a good Christmas.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. I love his energy. I've always loved his energy.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember the lightning just striking there, and they worked hard. I mean, they paid. Yeah. He was talking about paying dues. I mean, they paid their dues, and but that's grit and determination and vision, and just like you said, I love that energy, man.
Yeah. Targeted energy. Nothing. Einstein says, I think it was, nothing happens until something moves. So get out of my face. Just go move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving right along. Speaking of moving, Dan Berger is coming in from Boise, Idaho. So CEO of Assemble Hospitality Group. So you got a book here that we're going to be talking about, but before we get into that, just a little bit about the Assemble Hospitality Group. Yeah, and give us a little overview of where this is going, because I think it actually naturally segues into your book, The Quest, which is the definitive guide to finding belonging. So let's see where we go with this.
Sure. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I think at Assemble, the way I like to think about it is we believe that big things happen in small rooms. So you're not going to cure cancer at a town hall. You're going to cure cancer by deciding to make that your goal at an executive team retreat. So my experience in the meetings industry kind of made me think about, how do I move from software, the company I created and sold for $100 million, to a technology giant? How do I move from software to hardware, basically from the software that powers events to the hardware that powers it in terms of retreat venues? And I thought to myself, I love meetings. I love events. Let's facilitate them in a very small setting that allows teams to achieve great things.
That's good.
That's amazing.
I was talking to Rhett. Rhett's like, "Woo, I love this."
I do. I've got ideas. I've got ideas. I got ideas. It's funny because I was having this exact conversation last night about planning an event. So we got to talk. But I do want to talk about the quest. What inspired the book? What was the vision behind it? And what was the sort of the thing that pushed you to write it, that said, hey, I've got to get this out to the world?
Sure. So I think the first thing is I battle with imposter syndrome because I don't have any fancy acronyms behind my name. I'm not like an academic. So what I did, basically after selling my company for like, a life-changing amount, I thought, well, okay, I have all these resources. I have all this time. What now? And I immediately made a bid to buy meetup.com. If you guys know that internet. I was under contract to buy meetup.com literally as I was transitioning out of the last business I sold. And I was ready to buy it. But then the deal fell apart, doesn't matter why. And then COVID happened. So I found myself with a bunch of time and nothing to do. So I went on a multi-year quest, if you will, to find my sense of belonging, because as a kid, once I sold my company, my belonging was gone. I had belonging in my company. I talk about the different paths to finding belonging. My self-esteem was shot because I wasn't getting ego boosts talking to conferences. My group membership was shot because I wasn't hanging out with teammates. My friendships were shot because I didn't see my colleagues. So everything, all of my belonging sources were depleted once I sold my company. And I thought to myself, Laura, how do I find belonging?
Can I interrupt you? Because I want you to say that one more time. Because you sold it for $100 million. You sold it for $100 million, and that wasn't enough to give you fulfillment and belonging. And because I think people think that dollar amount is gonna change your life and change your psychology and change your, but it doesn't. But I'm sorry to interrupt you because you want
no problem. That's exactly right.
But I think that's an important takeaway for people.
I mean, Rhett, I think it is important to say though that I think money does change a lot of things.
100%.
And I think there are studies that say, okay, it's 70,000 a year, 75,000 a year, doesn't matter. In the psychology of money, what I love about that book, by the way, is it talks about how money gets you time, and time is the most important thing. So, money is a means to an end. A lot of people don't know what the ends are because they focus too much on the means. So, sold my business, and I was like, well, crap, I'm an adopted immigrant. I moved to the States when I was 9 from Israel. How do I've never felt a sense of belonging in this country for 30 years of my life. How do I lean into everything this country has to offer, apart from the education I received? And but how do I lean into it? How do I lean into my American identity? How do I lean into my finding spirituality? How do I lean into getting married? For Christ's sake, like I need to get married. I'm 40. How do I lean into family life? All these things are important to belonging that I didn't have as an adoptee, as an immigrant. So I finally realized what I was missing was a sense of belonging. And it was just kind of being filled by random things, like everything from womanizing to having a business. And I then went on this quest. And in order to address my imposter syndrome, I read 100+ books and articles in the academic journals. And I essentially summarized a process to find belonging. And unlike other people who kind of just tell you, here's what you go to the wilderness and do some mushrooms and you'll figure it out, or whatever they say these days, the reality is that there is a process to find belonging, and it's quite, methodical. And that's why I'm excited to be on Dave Meltzer's podcast and with you guys, because you're process people. You understand the importance of process as opposed to just talking about what happened as a result of the process, which is what a lot of people do.
Again, nothing moves until something, or nothing happens until something moves. That whole deal, and things move in relationship. I mean, that in my experience, when you're talking about process, every leader I've ever worked with, if they're honest with themselves, they've never gotten where they are by themselves. It's always in a relational harness that they've actually succeeded. And that idea of belonging, the whole idea of how I define who I am, and I was really struck by, all of a sudden I've got all this time and nothing to do. Who am I? Really. Yeah, you got Diogenes out there with a lantern, looking for somebody. Yeah, who am I? The relationships that we can create, and most people, in my experience, relationships happen to them. They don't intentionally go out and seek a way to connect. And what I'm the guide to finding belonging is an intentional way to connect, and you end up having intentional conversations, not drive-by conversations. That would be kind of one of my takeaways from what you're talking about here, Dan. Is that a fair assessment?
100%. I'll tell you. So when I went to my first therapist when I was in my 20s, I complained to him, my friends don't call me when they go out on a Friday night. And he said, well, why don't you call them? And I was like, are you an idiot? Like, I'm sitting here waiting for phone calls. And I realized I'm the idiot because I need to be the one reaching out. And that's 100% correct. And the thing that I like to talk about is the crossroad moments we have in our life. And there's a crossroad moment every time there's a big change. And as we get older, we have less crossroad moments. Once our kids, don't go to school anymore. Once they start school, there's a crossroad moment. That doesn't happen once they're gone. When we go to college, we have a crossroad moment. We start a new job, we have a crossroad moment. And that depletes. So I think thinking about relationships in a way that is accretive and a way that matches who you are in that season is really important. And I talk about the kind of 3 types of friendships. And there is friendship for a reason, friendship for a season, and friendship for a lifetime. And the reason is you might be single and you're all going out to meet people. A season might be you're going through something and they're there for you. But a lifetime is just somebody who's always been there. And a lot of people, Blaine, rely on these lifetime friendships for the things they need in the current season. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that the college buddies we have are not necessarily the best buddies for other things. They have a place.
Yeah.
But your best friend doesn't mean your most fun friend. And that's what a lot of people think about it that way. So, and again, in the book, it's super practical. It's like, here's how you do it. Stop telling me that I need it. Here's how I do it. And that's what I advise people to kind of take on. And that's why I call it Quest, because it is literally a guidebook.
Did you have a coach through all this? Did you have somebody did you have coaches or people that you could sort of help you through this?
Coaches have played a very important part of my role as CEO and post CEO. I think coach, as you know, given your accolades is different, but a lot of people enter that industry kind of thinking they can coach. I worked with Marshall Goldsmith, top coach, Bill Carrier, who's now the executive director.
I know Bill and Marshall very well.
Bill's great. Yep.
So Bill, I would say Bill is probably top 3 reason why I was successful during my business.
I'll tell him that Saturday. I'm on the phone with him on Saturday.
There you go. So Bill is top, one of the top guys, but I think it's different. So for me, I worked with a coach during social tables, and Bill's price reflected his results.
Which is a good thing.
And then I had it. So he was my individual guy. And then I had a team coach, because what I found is just like, when you tell your significant other, hey, please do this, they won't probably do it because it's you telling them. So I found that working with a team coach was an additive to the change I wanted to drive on the team. So going through a team coach was a little different because he would meet with me and then kind of go talk to other folks, as opposed to Bill, who really just worked with me. So that's a snapshot of some of the coaches I used. I've used others as well. But those are probably the most effective.
Wonderful.
Dan, it's been great having you on the show here. We'd love to have you back. Yeah, David has got a number of different shows, as you're probably aware of. So, and I'm certain that Rhett and I would probably I'll speak for myself here. I'll just I'd love to have you on my solo business podcast as well. And Rhett, I think you'd like to have a shot at this as well.
100%.
Okay, we'll circle back with you. People can find out more about what Dan's up to. The book, The Quest, The Definitive Guide to Finding Belonging. Check it out, danjberger.com. And Dan, have a great holiday season, and best of luck for the 2026. 2025.
We're thinking there.
I'm leaping ahead.
I'm
already in 2025. Looking to the next one. You
no
guys
problem.
Take care.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Dan. So at this point in time, I think there's usually a drum roll that occurs where David is going, ta-da, what's your takeaway?
to be successful, something that just kind of occurred to me that popped into my head is, I think the reason all four of these guys are, some of the most successful entrepreneurs is because of their energy, right? And I love the energy. I love the drive. I love the focus. That's my takeaway. Is I think those are some of the secret ingredients to success.
Yeah. We've got to kind of piggyback on that a little bit here. My takeaway has to do with something I used to teach years ago. And I mentioned this with Jay Alexander. There's a distinction between the goal and the experience. And so what I used to do, the meme I used to work with, and I put people in different groups, and we do all kinds of work around this, but what do you want? What means have you considered to get it? And what's the experience you're after? And it was that last question that kind of tripped people up. And then what got interesting was I'd recycle that. So they go, want means experience. Okay, take that experience. That experience now becomes your want. So what do you want? What's the means you consider to get it? What's the experience you're looking for? So it became a way to just kind of do a deep dive into something that was pretty fundamental at the end of the process. And we had light bulbs going off all over the place because people would discover things for themselves about, I never even thought that was really what was driving this. Okay, now we can do something with this.
Right.
And that, it kind of goes along the notion of, don't forget to smell the roses.
Which, that was hard. I mean, in my early, part of my entrepreneurship journey, right, I was so uber focused and buried in that I didn't smell the roses. I didn't, I didn't do the things that made me me. I dropped hobbies. I dropped social networks. I dropped, all in this sort of, but there was no balance and there was no harmony in any of that. Right. And then so, but these guys today have figured it out for sure.
They have, for sure. Rhett, it's been great working with you on the show today. I'm gonna, we can just kind of move David out of Thursday's slot.
Okay.
And you and I'll just run the thing. Yeah, this will be fine with me.
Okay. Thank you, Blaine.
Have a great holiday season, my friend. Best to you. Much love to you and your family, and looking forward to next year.
Indeed, and see you next week, I think. So.
Okay.
All right.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.